Hey, I think it worked. I believe it has worked. Okay, stream activity looks good. Server URL. Do I want that? Or do I want... I gotta review this new streaming studio again. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yeah, they got a share button. Thank you. I was gonna say, they should make that more obvious. Welcome back to another live Q&A. We do these on occasion. Say, doing another... I'm just tweeting it out for those on Twitter. Doing another live... Sorry if you would rather watch the, what's it called? The hearing... The antitrust hearing for the tech companies. If that's more interesting to you, I totally get it. Doing another live Q&A. Now, I'll say see you there. All right. The tweet has been sent. I was watching the antitrust hearings. Then I got bored and realized this is going to take a long, long time. Typically, you can just tune into the highlight reel after the fact, and you'll find a bunch of people asking tech questions that aren't that interesting or that are embarrassing. I saw some clip recently where someone just asked Mark Zuckerberg about why someone was blocked on Twitter or something like that. Asking, Mark, why did you block this Twitter user? You know, something silly like that. I'll just watch the highlight reels later. So, no, I'm not watching them. I like how Nicholas just gets straight into the action. I immediately hit go live, and he's just like, when are you going to have kids? Into the deep questions instantly. I don't know. Not soon. Me and my wife, we did marry young, but we do intend on having many years just to ourselves. I think the biggest reason... Oh, my goodness, my wires look horrible on the floor. Is that too much headroom? There. You can just admire my terrible cable madness. Me and my wife want to have many, many years where we get to be selfish and just hang out with each other and travel, because we've done like, what's it called? Not babysitting, but we've watched over like siblings and stuff for long term. So we've kind of gotten a little teaser. I know it's not the same thing when it's not your kid, but we've gotten little teases of what it would be like to have a kid long term. And like for a week or two, and we're like, okay, we don't really get as much time to ourselves when we have to watch over someone else's. So it's not that we don't want kids, but we definitely want to enjoy our alone time as we can, because it already feels like we don't get much time to myself. Like just being able to hang out and not have to worry about responsibilities. It ties into a lot. Of why we don't have pets is because we don't need the added responsibility, the added finance. I think it would be really, really cool if we could just, build up our passive income streams and be financially independent, and then at that point have kids. That way we wouldn't have to be battling work, kids, and personal time, and we could just axe out one of those at some point. Yeah, we've got plenty of time. Plus, COVID's not a good time to have kids. But, for everybody, there's good and bad times. So, yeah, it's just not for us right now. Adaptive Tech asked if I've ever fished before. I was just curious. Not recently, but I have in the past. My grandparents had a pretty decent-sized property that had a river in it, and they would let me fish from it when I was little. And they actually let me eat a few of the fish I caught. Most of the time, we would just throw them back, but a few of them they let me eat. And they were really good. It's not really something I'm super passionate about, but I have done it. There were a few times we went over to some other friends' houses that would have pretty big fish we could pull. I think they were just salmon and bass, so they weren't anything fancy. But this was years and years and years ago. I can't say I've fished in the past. I don't think in the past decade even. Maybe it was that long ago. It's been a long, long time. Let's see. If I want to get into app development, should I buy a Mac now or wait for the new ARM Mac? I don't think it's any different if you're into app development. If you can wait. If you can't wait, go ahead. But hold on, wait a little bit longer if you can, because it's possible we could be seeing our MacBooks within like 3 months or so. So, yeah. If you can afford to wait, please do. If you literally have to do it now because of work or some job, and your old Mac or your old computer just isn't cutting it, then fine. It's not the end of the world if you have to get one now, but if you can wait, please do. Let's see. Don't be in a hurry. Yeah, there's plenty of time. We're still young. Do you go back and watch an Apple event from the past? Yeah, sometimes. Usually I will go back and watch old Apple events right before a new one is about to begin. So like a week before Apple event takes place, I'll typically watch some of the older ones. That's about it, though. I normally don't watch that many if there's not one coming up or something like that. Let's see. You ever been asked, or would you be interested in taking part in Tech King Mike Saturday's night tech fight streams? Wow, that is a big name, Justin. Taking part. I think you meant taking part. Taking part in Tech King Mike Saturday night tech fight stream. He's never invited me. I don't know if he wants me to be in one. If he reached out to me, I'd probably be interested. I'm probably not very good at doing tech fights, but if he asked me to hype it up a little bit for the camera, I could do that. You should get into it. It's so much fun. I get up at 6 to go down at the beach and caught a few fish this morning, and I actually just ate one. Oh, cool. Glad you liked it. I've always found it interesting, at least where I live, there seems to be pretty strict guidelines and rules about how much you can fish and how often you can fish, which I always thought weird. It was always a meme I threw around, which ties into the questions you guys were asking, because I always thought it was funny that you need a license to fish, but anyone can have a kid. You know, there's no, like, paperwork or requirements to having children, but if you're going to pull a fish out of the water, you need to be investigated. You need to get written permission from our local government to see if that's okay. You know, I get why they do it. I just think it's kind of funny. But, no, I think it's more of a time consumption thing. I've seen and known a lot of people that fish, and it seems to me like a very small percentage of the time spent fishing is actually, you know, pulling the fish out of the water. It's mainly a lot of, like, sitting around waiting, being patient, talking, listening to music. So it's like, yeah, I could hang out. I can just kind of chill and relax and then occasionally pull a fish out of the water. I guess I can do that. It's just, I guess I'm busy. I spend my time doing other things, I suppose. Why don't you do any main channel videos anymore? It's a tough one because I really like doing... Oh, the EV video just finished exporting. I'll have to upload that after the stream. It's a tough one because I really, really enjoy the main channel. I love making content for it. It's just, it's very hard after years and years of doing it. I've been doing those little comedy skits and movies on that channel for literally longer than I've been doing tech vids, longer than I've been doing vlogs. I've been doing this longer than anything. And it's really, really difficult because they require more people. See, with tech, EV, and vlogs, I can pretty much do them by myself. Comedy skits are pretty hard to do all alone. So you have to invite other people over. You have to meet up with others. And because those videos are short, by definition, you know, they are shorts, they don't have that much watch time to them. So you can put like an hour into filming, an hour into editing, and probably an additional hour into writing. So it's like 3 hours worth of content production. And by the time you're done, the skit is like 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, which when it comes to YouTube and watch time is not that much. And it's even more difficult to arrange like the timing of when people are available. I think that's, after years and years of making skits and web series and that kind of thing, that's probably the most difficult part of producing those, is finding people who are free. And since they make next to no money, you can't really offer them anything. You know, I can't be like, hey, I'll give you $5 or I'll give you $20 to be in my skit, because the skit's not going to make that much. So because other people are busy and I'm busy, and because they're not very profitable, I'm not able to prioritize those skits. It's not that I'm actively choosing to not upload to those channels. It's just kind of difficult to prioritize when other people are watching all this other stuff. And, you know, you put all this time and energy into a comedic movie or a comedic short, and you put it on the channel, and it gets a few hundred views, and the people who see it really like it. But, you know, you do a tech video that takes you 1 hour, including the filming and editing time, and it gets 100,000 views. That's sadly got to take priority. That's sadly how it kind of has to work. Anthony Beltray, thank you for the super chat. Says, why can't Apple add 90 hertz on iPhone? It's cheap to add. I don't know. I'm not in charge. I think they could. I wouldn't be against 90 hertz, but I I think Apple, because they did promotion on the iPad, they were kind of in the boat of like, we're either doing 120 or we're not doing it at all. And 90 hertz would just kind of weaken our battery life anyway because they don't have the LTPO display panels. So they can't dynamically change the refresh rate as well as the Apple Watch or iPad can. So I don't know why they don't do 90. I'd be fine with it if they did. I think that'd be better than 60. But from the leaks we're hearing, it sounds like they're not interested in doing that. Anyway, why are the Twitch streams no longer uploaded to the podcasts app? I hate to call him out, but Nick is a little busy right now. So Nick has a lot on his plate because he's trying to edit the videos and edit the audio for both Tech and EV and get them up on the podcast app. I don't really handle the audio side of the podcast. I really do very little for the podcasts. So I am not really in control of getting the Twitch streams audio on the podcast app. I believe I reached out to him about it a week ago, and I was like, are you still going to be able to publish Twitch stream audio on the podcast app? And he said, like, it just got ahead of him. Like, there were so many Twitch streams, he wasn't able to update them, and it just kind of fell off his radar. And I just now recently brought it back to him. But it's important to remember that both Nick and Randy are both working full-time jobs outside of the podcast. So this is definitely not a top priority for them. And the time they do spend working on it are very limited. They're very, busy and stacked for time. So it's kind of difficult for them to make time for all that kind of stuff. So I'm not blaming them. I'm not mad at them for not updating them, but I did let Nick know about it about a week ago. But I know he's been working, I believe, over 40 hours a week. And on top of that, try to edit. He wasn't in the last podcast, so I had to edit the video and audio. Not the audio. Randy still did the audio, but I had to edit the video myself. And after doing that, I realized, like, man, okay, this is a lot more work than I realized. So him doing all that, I can understand why he hasn't had time to update it. I hope he can soon, though. So hopefully he finds some time and finds some easy ways to make that work. You haven't fished out of a northern pike, Drew. Them suckers fight like hell. Okay. No, I haven't. You're right. And I don't think I will plan on it anytime soon. Do you have plans on inviting other content creators on the Tech Podcast or Twitch streams? Not really. I haven't. I feel like I've talked about this before, but the Tech Podcast where I hang out with Nick and Randy, that's the only time throughout the weeks that we actually get to carry a conversation. Because me and Randy and Nick, we really don't talk much outside of when those podcasts are recorded because he's working, I'm working. So there's very little hangout and catch-up time outside of that. So we have kind of put it upon ourselves to be fairly consistent with the podcast and stay on top of it because we want to make sure that our friendship can stay consistent and that we can continue talking and hanging out when possible. So if we started inviting other content creators or other tech people on the podcast, then we don't really get time to catch up ourselves. So we could. I'm not saying that we have a super good reason for not inviting others on there. It's just we kind of enjoy the system we have going for us right now, and the audience seems to enjoy it. People seem to be tuning in. The numbers are good. People are listening and watching. So I guess we're just not straying from the formula that much. That's what it comes down to. Are there any plans having clips and full podcast episodes on different channels? I know Nick and Randy are busy. Having clips and full podcast. No, I think they're happy putting the podcast on the podcast channel. I think they want to stick to that. Will the next Tech and EV podcast be live? There's a decent chance I will say yes. Because turns out, I don't know if we've referenced this before, but me and Nick are planning on meeting up with Randy actually as soon as tomorrow via a big road trip. And we've delayed and canceled and postponed this road trip several times. In fact, originally it wasn't going to be a road trip. We were going to fly, but the pandemic canceled everything. We had planned it about 6 months in advance. So it was in 2019 that we started deciding, hey, we should meet up at some point because we wanted to do a once-a-year type meetup type thing. Where the last one was March of 2019. So I think it was like October, November of 2019 that we were like, let's meet up end of March of 2020. This was before the pandemic and everything. So once that happened, we were like, okay, let's not meet up. Let's not do it. So we postponed it a few months. Things didn't look much better, so we postponed it again. And our latest scheduled date has been end of July for a long time, like the last few days, and then of the beginning of August to do a little meetup. And we almost canceled this trip again because it feels like the pandemic isn't getting much better. But the reason we decided we'd be okay with it is because we're not going to be going to any airports. So Nick is driving. It's a big drive for him, and we're also driving. Nick has been quarantined for months now. He hasn't gone into any big events or anything like that. He hasn't gone to any crowded places. So for weeks and months, Nick has been isolated. He's been at home, not going anywhere, barely driving his car. And we've been kind of in the same boat. We've been at home, not going anywhere, not going to any big events, not socializing with a bunch of people. And Randy's and his wife are kind of in the same boat too. They're not really going out and about. They're not in crowded places. They're just kind of at home quarantining. So because of that, we just realized, okay, we'll be careful, but we're going to meet up. And I think we're going to do, I don't necessarily know if it's going to be live because I'm not sure if we have the equipment or the setup for the proper live stream ability. Exactly, Scott. There's no crowded places where Nick lives. No, he's not near any people. So if there was a responsible, safe, and clean way to do a meetup, I'm pretty sure this is the best way possible because we're avoiding crowds. We're not going to any public places. We're not going to airports or anything like that. We've all been quarantining ourselves for weeks now. So we feel pretty good about it. We don't think anybody's going to get sick. And frankly, I completely admit the pandemic is a serious issue. I've all been in favor of wearing masks. I don't know why people aren't. I'm very fed up with the situation. Anytime I do go in public, I always make sure to wear a mask. But after extensive thoughts and canceling and delays, we think that this one's going to be okay. So we're going forward with it, and we're only going to be together for a few days. And yeah, I'm excited to see them because I haven't seen Nick and Randy in person since forever ago. It was March of 2019. Very different world back then. The last meetup we had with Nick and Randy, I was still in the old big office. I was not a homeowner. Randy was not a Model 3 owner. Now he owns a Model 3. Last time we met up, he didn't own one. I've still never seen Randy's car after all these podcast episodes, all these B-rolls and all these videos we've done. I've still never seen it. Haven't seen Nick since over a year ago now. It's just been a long, long time, so I'm really pumped to see them again. Obviously, we're not going to be hugging or shaking hands or anything, but still, to see them at all will be exciting. Anyway, yeah, I'll have a nice comparison with the Y and the 3 because Randy said he would let me check out his Model 3 and let me drive it around, so I'm excited for that. Let's see. Can you just talk about the HomePod with iOS 14 using Siri on third-party music application? I don't really have any third-party music to demo that with. I mean, I don't know what videos I would make out of that. Okay, now it's playing off Spotify. It's more of like a, look, this can do that instead of a, I need to show you how it works or anything like that. YouTube has been recommending me some of your old videos, such as the Taylosive app and why the name Taylosive. By the way, the beard looks great on. Oh, thank you, Mike. Yeah, those are some old videos. Plans have definitely changed since then, that's for sure. Yeah. Do you want to stream the Mars 2020 launch? Want to give that a try? I don't think I can. Isn't that tomorrow? From what I've been reading, I think that's tomorrow, and we're going to be working / on the road all day tomorrow. So, yeah, basically we're going to be filming and editing tech and EV for tomorrow, and then as soon as work gets out, once we're done with work, we're just going to hit the road and drive till we hit Randy's place. Hopefully we don't physically hit it, though. That would be bad. Will you be buying all 4 iPhone models since they're out, or only some of them? Yeah, I've never bought every new iPhone model when it came out. I typically only buy 1 or 2. So I think I plan on buying definitely the biggest one. I'm getting the Pro Max for myself because I just want the biggest display possible. So I'm totally buying that one. I'll probably buy a secondary one for review purposes. I won't keep it. I'll return it. So I'm most likely going to get the smallest one, the 5.4-inch one, and the largest one, the 6.7-inch one, the 6.7-inch Pro Max. Outside of that, I don't see the need to buy the 6.1-inch models. I've used 6.1-inch iPhones before. I don't need another one. So I'm sure there will be some tech YouTubers that buy all 4, but I don't plan on being one of them. That's just too much for me, and I don't think the viewership or the interest would be that interesting. No, Justin, we don't. We've kind of moved on from that. We've gone our separate ways, and we're just living life on our own. Yeah, I think I might vlog tomorrow's meeting. I mean, it's just kind of a lot of driving. I'm not a fan of doing road trip. I haven't driven my current vehicle on a long distance road trip like this in like forever. I'm trying to think the last time. I think the biggest road trip I've ever done with my current vehicle was like to the Bay Area and back, and that's about it. So yeah, this is the longest trip we've ever done in a long time. In fact, we got our car inspected because we bought our tires from Big O, and we wanted to make sure that the car was road trip ready, and they were emailing me. They were basically saying, like, you know, we'll give you a free inspection, we'll look over the alignment and the fluids and everything of the car. And so the tires needed to be rotated. They hadn't been rotated in a long time, so I knew that was overdue. And because we bought the tires there, they rotated them for free, and they did the inspection for free, which was really nice. So they checked the alignment on everything. They made sure it's all road trip worthy. The oil's okay. The fluids are okay. The only thing they recommended me to do was to change the battery, which I thought was weird because it's starting fine. They just said that their battery didn't pass their starting check. So they have some way of inspecting the battery, and apparently it didn't pass their test. So they said, no, you should get a different battery. But it's been starting fine for well over a year now, and I'm sure the battery might be getting weak. But I'm the kind of person that's like, I'll replace the battery when the car doesn't start anymore. But just in case, we do have jumper cables. So if the battery does act up on us for whatever reason during this trip, we can jump start if we need to. But other than that, they said everything was fine. They got the tires rotated. We drove it around a little bit. It's working fine. It can definitely beat the range of any Tesla today. That's for sure. It goes 450 miles from the pump. So road trip on a gas car, I guess, is not too much to be worried about. But yeah, it was funny because we went into a what's it called? The Big O. And there were other people waiting because their cars were getting worked on and that kind of thing. And they had their masks, but they weren't, like, wearing them, which always annoys me. I'm like, if you've got the mask, just put it on, people. They weren't, like, wearing them, but, of course, me and my wife, when we walked into the Big O, we had our masks on because we're in a public place, so, of course, we had them on. And everyone in the store, including the guy behind the counter, which was not really wearing his mask all the way, he kind of had his nose exposed. Once everyone saw us walked in, everyone put their mask on. And the guy covered his nose, and the other people in the waiting room started putting on their masks. It was like this peer pressure type domino effect, which I'm kind of like, hey, you know what? This is the best kind of peer pressure. Let's just make people feel awkward for not wearing masks. So I felt good about that. We walked in with our masks on, and everyone was like, oh, okay, we'll wear a mask too. Oh boy, you guys are now asking the big questions. Scott says, I just got new tires, and now I have the new brakes tomorrow. The joys of cars. Yeah. Our brakes are okay, so we didn't have to replace those, thankfully. But, oh boy, do we have to turn this into another right to repair live stream? Do we have to go there? Overall, I'm not super passionate about it, but I'm not a repairman. I'm just a guy who buys products online and enjoys some of them and hates some of them. So I don't really know why my opinion on right to repair matters. Don't freak out if I don't agree with you, but I personally just think if a company wants their product repaired a certain way, let them do it. I don't think the government necessarily needs to step in and say, no, you're required to provide service to these companies and to these third parties. If they don't want to provide parts to other companies, okay, it's their loss. You know, if they don't want to do it, then they don't have to. If they want to do it, then great. But why does the government need to force them to do it? I don't know. I'm no expert. There's probably a bunch of things I'm not aware of that could change my mind on the subject, but I'm not aware of them. Anyway, Okay, here's a good question from Ian. He says, if your car got broken beyond repair, would you go ahead and get a Tesla, or would you just get another Hyundai or something? Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know, because I would hate the idea. I would hate the idea of spending more money on another used, broken down gas car before we buy a Tesla. So, I mean, right now, probably we couldn't physically, financially, we couldn't really buy a Tesla right now, even if our current car died on us. But frankly, we're not using our car that much, so we would probably just in the meantime just like Uber around or something if our car did die on us. Or if we had to, we would probably just buy like literally the cheapest broken down car we possibly could, just get the most busted up like $1,000 gas car we could find, because we really aren't driving that much lately. My wife and me are both we could probably borrow a friend's car in the meantime and then just work our way up to something more permanent. But yeah, I'd be taking the bus until it was Tesla time, pretty much. Yeah. I hope I never have to buy another gas car. That's my goal. My hope for the longest time has been the Sonata can last until we can buy a Tesla, but it's been holding up. It's got 160,000 miles on it, but it's still working fine. It just passed inspection and everything, so I think it's going to last us easily a couple more years for sure. Living in Montana, the range of Tesla vehicles, because of everything that can definitely happen in the mountains around where I live, plus the cold weather, could be problematic for the battery. I wouldn't worry about it if you've got electricity at your house. If you have light bulbs, you can charge a Tesla. Just overnight, even with a slow charger, I think would cover daily driving habits. Obviously, if you're in a place with cold weather, I would absolutely recommend getting a longer range Tesla, because in the cold, range of any car goes down in the cold. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people, I think, are extra paranoid about the range of EVs because they're less. But the truth is, there are just as many variables to gas car range as there are electric car range. The way you're driving, the speed you're driving, the temperature, the rain, all these things affect the range of a typical gas car. You just don't really think about it that much because we're not used to really thinking about it that much. So those factors do play into effect, obviously, with EVs a bit more. But I think if you get a long range and you're capable of charging it from home, you'd be totally fine in Montana. I think you'd be fine. You want a Mazda 6, Drew? We're selling ours, and it's in good condition. I can offer you $3. Thanks, Mike. I have $3 to budget. Actually, I have this old 5 that you might accept. Little Caesars doesn't seem to want it, but maybe you do. Oh, my God. The new iOS 14 podcast app is so annoying. Every time you select an episode, it looks every episode before that, including the episode. That's weird. I haven't tried that. What's the worst thing you hate about iPhone? Probably that you can't remove the app labels, the little text below apps. I would really like it if you could remove those. I'm not willing to switch to Android for that reason alone, but it would be really nice if I could remove that. Other than that, I'm the Apple sheep. I love my iPhone. Genuinely. I've been using iPhones for a long time, and I really like them. I'm enjoying them. Aw. Thank you, Chris Norton. Another massive donation from Chris. Thank you. It says, hello, enjoy your road trip. Buy your wife a present. Okay. I'll make sure to do that. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Ian says cold equals mode dense air, which means your car will go faster since it's getting more air in the intake. Ooh. Okay. Good for the cold air then. Definitely true about range on any vehicle in the cold. Yeah, people don't think about that. Normally when you're buying a gas car, you don't really care what the range is. Have you noticed that? Car commercials and car dealers and stuff like that, when you're buying a new gas car, they never really bring up the range because you just don't think about it. What's often brought up is the mileage. How much do I have to pay per mile? Which EVs are always going to win on, because electricity is, even in the worst states, always going to be cheaper than gas. Even if you live in a place where electricity costs a lot, it's still way cheaper than gas. But people are still so paranoid about range with EVs because of They just know that they're worse than a gas car, so they're extra paranoid. What's the range? What's the range? Oh, now the range isn't as good because it's cold. Oh, the range isn't as good because of the snow. Oh, it's not as good. You know, they're just extra paranoid. The gas cars do the same thing. They just don't think about it. It's tradition. That's what I've talked about with EVs all the time. Tradition is the biggest bottleneck when it comes to transitioning to electric cars, is people not understanding how they work and focusing on things that don't matter that much. Let's see. Should I get a MacBook Pro for school now or wait for Apple Silicon? My answer is not going to change depending on your situation. If you need one now because your current one won't cut it, you can get one now. If you can't afford to wait, please do. That answer won't change. Let's see. Honestly, it's a vintage $5 where the wife and I are collecting those old fives, so it'll have some worth. Just let me know. Okay. We might just flip it at this point. We'll take your Mazda and then we'll sell it for $10. Then it's 100% profit. What about a Toyota Prius? You could get over 600 miles on a full tank, 54 miles per gallon. Well, I imagine the hybrid element of that helps. I wouldn't buy a Toyota Prius personally because, as cheap as they may be, that would be a lot less money we could put towards a Tesla, which is obviously what we really want. Am I worried about Tesla reliability? Based on user experience, no. I've talked to and know a lot of people that are Tesla owners who have said they have had far less problems than their gas cars have had. And I've had far more problems with gas vehicles than I've heard people with electric vehicles have, because they don't have to worry about oil changes, they don't have to worry about transmission failure, and they don't have to worry about brake pad replacements nearly as much as gas car owners. All things I've personally had to experience myself with gas cars. My first car was a Ford Ranger, and it leaked oil everywhere. Literally everywhere you park that thing, it spilt oil everywhere. And the reason we had to scrap that car for junk, we couldn't even sell it, it wasn't operational, was because a head gasket on it blew out, which cost us several $100s to replace. And after we replaced it, then the transmission was shot. Neither of which could have ever happened on an electric car. So I'm not worried. I'm not really concerned about Tesla's reliability, considering the infinitely larger number of maintenance issues you can have with a gas car. I paid $29 for 2 weeks of gas in my Suzuki station wagon from 2007, and I still need to work on it. Yep. They definitely are money pits, that's for sure. They take a lot of money. You hate that you can't remove the home bar? Just switch to Android, yeah. The home bar doesn't bother me that much, honestly. If it wasn't there, it would probably feel a little weird. But, yeah. No, the home bar doesn't bug me as much. Are you considering buying the 12K 60 camera? Oh, heck no. And do you think Blackmagic should change the name of their company? No. I think that would just confuse people. They don't need to change their name. And no, I think 12K is absolutely overkill for anything you do on the internet. The only company that should be considering buying an 8K, let alone 12K camera, is a company that's planning on making content for the theater, something that will be viewed in IMAX or the big screen. If you're watching something on the internet, I don't care if it's your TV, I don't care if it's your desktop, it doesn't need to be shot in 8K. It's just a flat fact. People will not notice the difference. People will not see that. 12K is totally overkill because we currently don't even have a monitor that can display 12K content. You won't even see the difference of 12K content if you're on a screen under 80 inches. So even if you were watching content on a 60-inch screen, you wouldn't see the difference between 8K and 12K. Physically, it's not possible. Someone could claim they are, but I think it's placebo, because just of the physical, what the human eye can detect, it's not necessary. Rockford Media, thank you for the super chat. Said, Drew, I found your twin. Yeah, I think you tagged me or someone DM'd me that picture of my twin or something. There's been a lot of people that look like me on the internet, that's for sure. Chris Norton super chatted again. Says, I think you were inspiring. I love Talks and Tech. Cool. Thank you for the super chats. I hope, Chris, you're aware you don't have to donate. I'm doing these live streams because they're fun, and I like figuring out exactly what you guys are curious about. You don't have to super chat. It's an easy way to prioritize your question, but if I spot you in the chat, I'll definitely try to read it best I can. So yeah, we don't need to worry about 12K. But thank you for the super chat. We don't plan on having children anytime soon. We thought one day, but we want to have some time to ourselves for the meantime. So it's not high on our priority list. Same thing with 12K. What would you do if you found a female twin? I don't know. What does that mean? What is that? If I found a female, I don't know. Hey, a twin. That's probably what I would do. I don't know that many twins in my personal life, to be honest. I'm trying to think of someone I know that's a twin. There were some people in my high school that were twins, but I haven't talked to them in years, so I don't. In my personal life, I really don't know that many. I get most of your audience comes from tech, but it kind of sucks that so many questions here about tech when we're in talks. Well, it's talking. I don't mind talking about tech here. It's fine. But the idea of talks is that people can have the freedom and feel free to ask questions unrelated to tech if they would like. That's what I like about the talks channels. It's just kind of the free. It's the wild card. Ask about whatever. It can be tech and can be other stuff. Would you ever do a live stream on the movie review channel? We did, actually. I think me, Nick, and Randy all did a Avengers Endgame live stream after that movie came out. And I think it's still public. I think you can still go back and watch that. I might do more live streams, but I don't know of what I could review on there. Most of what we did on the movie review channel is like movies coming out, and now that all of that's been kind of put on hold, there hasn't been a ton of stuff we've been interested in reviewing, but yeah. Did you see the doctor that believes in witchcraft and demon children? No. Was that trending on Twitter? I think I saw that trending yesterday. It was some kind of demon. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't say. Maybe it's not appropriate. I don't remember. I did not look into it, no, but I hope it was not an actual doctor. But thank you for the super chat. Let's see. I can ask anything. Do you like thumbtacks? Ooh, okay. I like these questions. Try to find the most obscure, out there questions possible. I like those. I'm sick of the whole generic, Drew, should I get a MacBook now or should I wait for the Apple Silicon? I've been asked that a million times. Will Apple Silicon be better for gaming? You know, same old, same old. Let's ask the tough questions. I do like thumbtacks. The thumbtacks are how I keep all my posters on the wall, and they're how I keep all my iPhone boxes. I don't plan on making a new Volunteer Cop episode. I think I just kind of grew out of it, and I don't really have any intended plans on continuing it. So, you know, we did it pretty old into my career. I think we filmed a little bit of Volunteer Cop when I was out of high school, and it started feeling a little silly. Some people liked it, some people didn't, so I don't know. Probably moving on to new things. What's the movie you are waiting for the most? Tenet, by far. I'm annoyed that they can't release Tenet yet. It's supposed to be out by now, and it's still not out because Chris Nolan insists Tenet has to be viewed on the big screen. I disagree. I'm not with those filmmakers. They keep acting like this was meant for the theater experience. It's like all those filmmakers are watching movies in these red carpet, private, luxury theaters, whereas the rest of us, when we go to the theater, we have to listen to all these people talking and munching on popcorn and making noise and opening their Skittles bags and people sneezing and coughing, and now it's dangerous for us to all have these big gatherings. The theater experience is not consistent for everyone. And we have great sound systems, and we've got great TVs with high-quality display panels and everything. I think more people need to get on board with streaming, like not releasing things in the theater. It might be for financial reasons, but personally, I think if you keep delaying the movie enough times, people are going to forget it came out or not. People are going to forget it exists. So marketing is going to lose its effect if you tell everyone, this is coming out in the summer, this is coming out in the summer, and then you delay it months and months and months and months. That's going to hurt the financials anyway. So, I don't know. I think they need to just get it out there. One day we might have an iPhone with an 8K camera, but it'll be overkill and unnecessary. How many people from high school are you still in contact with? I lost touch with all of them once I joined college. Yeah, not much, honestly. I think everyone I'm in contact now I met with when I was at College Connections. Like I met Louise at College Connections, which is kind of high school, but kind of not at the same time. I knew Wyatt long before high school, but we didn't really start hanging out until I was in College Connections. Dan, I also met when I was at college. He was not in College Connections. Neither was Wyatt. They were just at the college I was going to, and we just started hanging out there. So that's most of it. Nick and Randy I met after. So yeah, I don't really talk to most of the people I met in high school, I guess. Would I buy a Ford Mustang Mach-E if it was 75% off? If I'm allowed to sell it, yes. If I'm not allowed to sell it, no. I've seen the Mach-E. There's some nice things about it, but by no means would I ever take that over a Tesla, even if it was significantly cheaper, just for the sake of supercharging, autopilot, full self-driving. Also, my channel would never forgive me if I've been making videos on EVs and Teslas for so long. And then after all that, to go with a Mach-E, they'd be like, what? What? Why'd you get the Mach-E? You know, people are already annoyed at me enough that I don't have a Cybertruck reservation. All right, Rockford, what did you say? Trump is supporting the doctor who believes if you think hard enough, you will be impregnated by demons. Okay. Well, don't believe that. We can move on from that subject as quickly as freaking possible. Psoriasis is pretty much gone. It's great. I don't have it. It's not there anymore. I still have it, so I'm going to keep taking my medication. But yeah, it's nice. Discord would tear me apart after all this hype about Teslas and people asking me about which Tesla I would get. If I had a Mach-E after all that, yeah, everyone would. If you were okay with me selling the Mach-E, then yes, I would totally buy one for 75% off and just sell it the next day for, make a profit off it. But no. I have not read Animal Farm. No, wait, I did read Animal Farm. I forgot. I read that in high school. I wasn't a big fan of it. Though, then again, I've never been that much of a reader in the first place. I made a student film about 1984. I bet you could dig that up. If you went on Taylosive Productions, you could probably find 1984. I didn't write it. It was, obviously. But there was a film, not a film class, an English class in my high school where this group of, I think it was either, what's the term? It's freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. I think they were juniors. There was a junior English class that hired me basically to help them make a video for their English class. So they asked for my help, and I basically filmed it, and I edited it, and I put it all together with their creative control. I wasn't directing or writing it or planning it all out. They handled all the acting and basically the flow of the whole short thing. But no, I have not read 1984, but I know basically what it's about because I had to make a short film about it, essentially. I am on Reddit now. I'm just now experimenting with it. I'm not really doing anything official, but I have been using it a bit. I'd tear you apart. I let you drive my car and you chose the Ford. I'd be more devastated and conflicted on how I didn't sell the Y successfully. I wonder if Tesla would let you trade in a Mach-E. They basically have to let you trade in any vehicle, right? I wonder what the trade-in value of a Ford Mach-E would be. That'd be funny. Let's see. Taylosive Productions is my favorite Taylosive channel, ironically. Okay, good. I'm glad you said ironically. That would have been bad if you said unironically. I don't archive all of my raw videos. I basically will keep, not even all of them, I will keep the videos in their completed form. Like the videos you see on my YouTube channel, I'll keep for offline. But the raw footage recorded that day, I used to keep them, and then I realized I wasn't really going to ever do anything with them. Like if there were outtakes and bloopers in there that were funny, I would consider keeping them, but they're really not. It's really just me saying something, making a mistake, and then stopping and then trying again. And I was like, okay, this will never really be that interesting. And it takes up way too much space on my computer. So a finalized video that I upload, like a tech or an EV video, ends up being like 1 or 2 gigs. So I keep those because it's not that hard to store them. So, for the year, it's like 600 gigs worth of finalized videos. But some of them that are real time sensitive, I'll just delete. Videos that don't age well. I've already got them on YouTube. I've got a copy of them, so why not? They would take it for another vintage $5 bill, so you'd have 2 useless pieces of paper. No! I just can't take it to Little Caesars. Oh, well. LumaFusion now supports keyboard and mouse. Oh, that's good. I'll have to try that again. Let's see. What Tesla are you thinking of today? Thinking of? I mean, I made a video on the Model Y today. That'll come out after this live stream. So, It's not really an exclusive hot take. It's mainly just a persuasive video about why I think the upcoming Model Y will be the best-selling Tesla ever. You should make a blooper video someday. I don't know. They're not funny. I save the bloopers of the Saturday shorts, like me and Wyatt. Those bloopers are funny when we're trying to do the comedy skits. When I have the time to, eventually I would like to make a compilation of all our outtakes and stuff like that. The problem is they have a lot of language and cursing, which kind of goes against the channel's purpose. But some of them are really funny. There's not really much bloopers for the tech or EV videos. They're not interesting. They're just me messing up and stopping, so I don't think it would be that interesting. What about recording a video on film and upscale it to 4K 60 HDR? Film is just even more expensive. I wouldn't mess around with that. Upscale it to 4K 60. I think HDR is overrated. I wouldn't worry about that. Isn't it crazy that we have to take English classes for at least 15 years in this country? Yeah, I think it is a little crazy. Well, you know me. I definitely have a lot of thoughts on education reform because I feel like we prioritize a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter and we neglect a bunch of stuff that does when it comes to finances and taxes and buying a house and budgeting and investing and financial independence. A bunch of stuff we should be teaching in schools that we don't. Yeah, I definitely think we take more English classes than we need, that's for sure. Because English classes are basically required throughout elementary, middle, and high school, and there's very little you can do with that information they give you. Basically, it's all essays and read this book and write about this book. And I've yet to figure out a lifestyle or a career where it really pays off to know about how to write an essay. All it's really useful for is becoming an English teacher. So you build this whole system, like the whole education system in its current state is basically ripe for you to become an English teacher. That's essentially the only career. Marcel asks, what's my ideal education system? And then Mike asks, what's your ideal solar system? And I take that in so many different ways. I'm taking that as, does he mean like the solar package on my house, or does he mean like the planets around the sun? I'm trying to imagine what he means. Yeah, 15 years and I still don't know how to speak properly. I still can't figure it out. I don't really have an extensive plan on reforming it. I would say that I think in the high school years, we should start emphasizing more trade skills instead of more general. Like, I think, basically, I agree that everyone should have general knowledge in all subjects. You know, you don't have to be an expert in every field, because once you get to a certain age, you should start figuring out what you want to do with your life, and that's when you can start becoming a science expert or a history expert, and you can start pursuing those fields so that you can use it for a career later in life, because I feel like that's what school should do, is get you prepared for the future and get prepared for the rest of your life. And I felt like I learned all of the general basics we need to by the end of the 8th grade. By the end of the 8th grade, I had a general idea how life works, you know, cells, mitochondria, a plant life, biological, you know, bioscience and that kind of thing. I knew how to do algebra. I knew how to do basic equations, how to plot graphs, multiplication, fractions. I got the basics down. You know, I knew how to write. I knew how to read. We were reading big books. We were writing formulative essays. By the end of the 8th grade, I felt like the last 4 years of my education system were completely useless. I'm sure I'm sure a bunch of people probably disagree with me on that, but at least in my general neck of the woods, I felt like I literally did not learn anything freshman through senior year. I'm not joking. Like, I'm trying to think back at like a lesson a teacher taught, or even in business class at college. Like, the math skills I learned were useless, and I never ended up using them. The science we took there was, I mean, it was high end. Started getting into the chemistry classes, and they were getting into the nitty gritty details. But I was at an age where I was like, I'm not going into this field. I'm not going to pursue this. This is useful for someone, but it's not me. And then once we started getting into the higher end algebra fields where they start teaching me imaginary numbers and they start teaching me pre-calc, I was like, okay, not for me. Where's the button I press? Where's the button that says I won't pursue this market? I'm not going to do this. So I feel like those 4 years of the high school system need to be more positioned in a way that you can start pursuing trade schools or start basically taking like the basic college classes they have at community college. You could easily start taking out of the 8th grade. Like, they don't require extensive background for you to take some of those entry-level general ed classes at community college. Most of my ideal education system would be deleting the high school years and replacing them with, okay, by 9th to 12th grade, you should start figuring out what you want to pursue. And I don't say that because I want to force, younger generations to be like, make up your mind, pick a career already. My point is, you won't figure out what you want to do until you start doing it. So if you're interested in becoming engineer and you want to start pursuing science or math more extensively, start taking those classes now in your earlier freshman and sophomore years. And if you don't like it, if you don't think it's that interesting, great. Now you know that. You've had experience with it. You've tried that. So now you can start pursuing another thing. Try to find something else that's interesting to you. I don't think we need these 4 years of teaching people the basics. I agree we should all have a general understanding of U.S. history, world history, mathematics, science, a general understanding of how the world works in math and that kind of thing. That's important. I think we covered the basics by 8th grade. Those high school years, start figuring out what you want to pursue more in depth. Start finding out those internship programs. Start figuring out something that you're actually passionate about. Work from there. But that's just me. Maybe a lot of people say I'm mature for my age, so maybe I matured faster than most. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe a lot of people feel like they should just keep pursuing the general basics for those 4 years. I could be incorrect because, again, I have very little knowledge on the subject. But in my opinion, I think we got it after 8th grade, and after that you should start figuring out, are you going to go into the medical field? Are you going to go into the engineering field? Or you want to go into the teaching field? And start cutting out all of the excess fields you're definitely not going to pursue. Like my sister, she had to take a lot of college classes to learn how to become like, a second grade teacher. So I don't think all of the pre-calc and algebra and high advanced, science classes she took in high school were that necessary. Instead, she could have accelerated her college career by taking the necessary courses she needed to take to become a second grade teacher in those 4 years of high school instead. So I think just a lot of early years are wasted, basically. I could be wrong. When I went into 9th grade, they randomly put me in classes like agriculture that I had no interest in. I did not choose those classes. I think a lot of people are in that boat. I would say 90% of the classes I was in high school, I had like no interest in at all. I mostly agree with what you're saying. I took Montessori school from kindergarten to elementary school. I think middle school upwards, it should start getting into a more traditional type. I guess so. Higher in math equals imaginary numbers. Looks at my linear algebra course. Well, then. I just mean if someone wants to become an elementary school teacher, they shouldn't have to learn pre-calc. That's all I'm saying. Having someone who had to try and attempt pre-calc, I was like, sorry, I am not going to use this. I know for a fact I am not going to use this. Do you know that I was watching your pizza video while I was waiting in the pizza line? Yeah, I think I saw you comment that, Tron Max. That was funny. How convenient. There's definitely a lot of math I think we teach in high school that will never be used. That's for sure. By the majority of the people learning it. There are some people that will use it, but, let them take those classes. My kids are going to learn pre-calc and imaginary numbers at 4 years old. They'll learn it no matter what. Okay, I'm glad you're not my father, Mike. Oh, my God. You never know when you'll need to calculate the side of a product pyramid in your grocery store along with the volume. Yeah, that's another one. So much algebra, so much geometry I never ended up using. Also, so much of that, you can't use a calculator here. And I'm like, what stage of life am I going to be in where I can't use a calculator? I don't know. No, I've not seen Finland's education system, no. Took me 2 tries for pre-calc. It's tough, but it's useful. I believe you, because you're in the engineering department. I wouldn't say the same for my sister. who is teaching second graders. Did any school teach finance/useful skills? Not for me, no. We never were in any good financial classes growing up. Let's see. I was a rapper at high school and didn't do anything. It was useless. Then I became serious, and now I'm a doctor. Okay. There you go. Could you be a rapping doctor? Let's see. I was always rapping and even gave a concert at graduation. Then I hid in my YouTube videos when became popular and became a doctor. Becoming a doctor is good. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't know what it has to do with rapping. Do you want a calculator app on the iPad or a weather app on the iPad? Both. It's not crazy to ask for both. It's not crazy. Those little demons will learn pre-calc. Oh, my God. Teachers, you can't have a calculator with you all the time. Steve Jobs. And we call it iPhone. Right, or Apple Watch, yeah. Got a calculator on the watch, though. I'm taking a personal finance class this fall for my junior year, which I'm really happy about. That's good. That's good. I'm glad they let you take that. I feel like that should be more required given how much debt is common in this country, how common it is for people to go into debt, that we're not forcing more financial education. The other problem is, at least in my high school, I felt like anything the teachers wanted to teach, it was only getting through to about 10% of the school. And the rest of the school was just kind of blowing it off and just being like, how do I pass this test? And then they learned that info for the test, and then they forgot it all within a couple months. So the knowledge was not applied. They basically learned it so that they could get a good grade, and then they never remembered it. Like, the information I had to pass to get through the classes I took in high school, I couldn't take those tests again today. Oh, sorry. Solar system question. I would want more terrestrial planets. I think we have too many gas giants. It annoys me how many planets are in the solar system that we can't walk on because they're made of gas instead of rocks. And I think Venus is kind of a cop-out because Venus is terrestrial, but the atmosphere is so crap that you can't even walk on it. So I want more, basically, I want more planets in the Goldilocks zone that they have, like, adequate temperatures. Our solar system kind of sucks because we just got this planet and Mars. Mars is reasonable. You know, it's not easy. I'm not saying it's something we could do overnight, but it is technically and theoretically possible that we could have a self-sustaining colony on Mars. There would be some, you know, it's a cold planet. It's colder than Earth. But humans have proven we're pretty good at warming up planets. So if we wanted to warm up Mars, we could. The moons are pretty cool, but I don't think they're as sustainable. The gravity's too low that it would have pretty long-term detrimental effects to your bone structure if you were to walk on some of the planets, some of the moons on Jupiter. And they're very cold, very, very cold. Mars is somewhat sustainable to live off of. I always thought it would be cool if we had another terrestrial planet that was bigger than Earth. Because it feels like we're the fat boy, you know? We're the fat planet in our solar system. We're the biggest terrestrial planet in our system here. Mars is smaller, which I guess is good because it makes it easier to walk around on other planets because of the low gravity. But it also means that if you wanted to live on Mars for 10 years and come back to Earth, you'd be probably a little bit sore. Your bone structure would deplete a little bit, and you'd feel really heavy, and you'd feel really tired walking around on Earth. But you could do it. Whereas I think it would be cool if we had another terrestrial planet in our solar system that was like maybe 20 to 30% larger than Earth. So it had even more surface area. And then, but it's still in the Goldilocks zone, right? So it's still in a place where the temperature's adequate. It's sustainable. We could build a colony there. It's got powerful enough magnetic field that it blocks the solar radiation. Set up a colony there, right? Have some people set up a colony and actually give birth and have people that are native to that larger planet. Then they think it's normal. So when those people visit Earth, they'll be jumping around like it's low gravity on our own planet. Those people would be extra strong. Like their bone structures would be improved. Their muscles would be extra powerful. They could jump further. They could run faster probably because the gravity would be lesser of an effect. That would be my ideal solar system. Less gas giants. More Goldilocks terrestrial planets that are larger than Earth so that we could visit them, become stronger, and then come back to Earth with stronger muscles and that kind of stuff. Super Earths. That's what you can call it. Yeah, interplanetary travel sounds cool on paper, but I think it would be a nightmare in execution. I've talked about that on the Space Podcast with Nick, I think we discussed how I think people could lose their minds in deep space travel. People could, you're going to be stuck in a tube with people, and you can't really bail out. You can't, if you get fed up with your roommate, you can move out. If you get tired of some teacher or some boss, you can quit that job. You can ditch that class. You can't back out when you're on a spaceship heading towards Mars. And that's a 4-year-long trip minimum because it takes months to get there, and then it takes another 2 years before Mars and Earth align again, and then it takes, months and months to get back. So you're stuck with those people for 4 years in a tube, and you can't really get away from them. You can't really look forward to summertime, wintertime, going for a swim, walking on grass with your bare feet, going to a barbecue. You are stuck. You are stuck on that thing. And if people annoy you, you can't avoid them. And I think it could result in very barbaric conflict between people. So, I don't know when the next space podcast is coming out. Nick's hosting that one, so probably not for a while because he's on the road for the next few weeks. So, yeah, I don't know. But I think it would be quite scary. I would be a little bit nervous to travel that far to another planet. Maybe if I was just with people I liked, if that was somehow possible. If I just had to go with Louise and that was it, that would be fun. I would love to go just with my wife, maybe just with my family. But if there's a bunch of other strangers on board, I'd be like, yeah, no thanks. Sounds kind of stressful. Don't want to bother. Anyway, yeah, I watched the Mars series on the National Geographic Channel. It's cool. I like the idea of traveling there, but I don't know if I could do it myself. I'd like to go to the moon, though. That would be pretty short term. I think there's a pretty easy way to commercialize. If you figured out the reusable rocket thing like SpaceX is going to, I think you could fairly easily commercialize moon trips. Because when you go to Mars, you lose instant communication. You couldn't have internet on Mars because the speed of light is limited. So if you wanted to communicate with people on Earth, it would take like 30 minutes to send one message and then get a response back. Depending on the moon's, if the Mars's position is on the opposite end from the sun as Earth, it would be even longer. So communication will become more and more distant. You can't have FaceTime. You can't have video calls. You can't stream content that easily. You'd pretty much have to download everything. And you could only text people. You couldn't really have long. It would be more like email than it would be texting because it wouldn't be instantaneous messaging. The moon, however, you can have instantaneous conversation. You could have a FaceTime call on the moon. The speed of light is fast enough that it's not that big a difference. You could have phone calls from the moon. And if you had Starship doing routine runs to the moon, you could take a bunch of rich people who want to go on a moon resort or whatever, build a little base on the moon that people can visit, have a little hangar that they can jump around in because of the low gravity, and you won't require a suit because you're inside and everything. You could have lunar trips that take 3 days to get there. So cool, you're in zero gravity for 3 days. You could still have internet. You could still talk to people back home. Then you could land and be in low gravity for like a week or two, and then the Starship comes back and flies them home. And they might get a little bit disoriented when they originally first land, but I could see a real market coming out of that. Randy, Nick, Louise, and Drew take a Cybertruck to Mars. Yeah, that might be a little difficult. Yeah. Sometimes I text people and it takes them hours, so 30 minutes would be nice. Yeah, it wouldn't be good if someone was breaking the laws up there or someone was losing their mind and you needed help from back home. You're like, what do we do? And it takes them 30 minutes to decide. You couldn't have instantaneous conversations. Could the moon be a relay for the Earth and Mars? Wouldn't help. The difference between the Earth and moon is like this. And the difference between Earth and Mars, not even further than what my arms can reach. There's an insane amount of distance between Earth and Mars compared to the Earth and moon. It's our current day rockets, you can get to the moon in like a couple days. Whereas best case scenario, you can get to Mars in like 8 months. So there's a huge difference in time and difference in distance there. So it wouldn't really act as a good relay. Even if you put some satellites or something on the moon, it wouldn't make much of a difference. How do you go to the bathroom in zero gravity? You can't look it up. It's a thing. Check the ISS. There's people on there all the time. There's videos on it. They could break it down for you. Anyway, I got to get going, but I appreciate all the super chats and you guys tuning in today. It's a lot of fun. It's been good. It's been real. I got to get some stuff uploaded. So